and welcome to today's topic. Today we'll be discussing starting with ₦0. Starting from the bottom, starting from the scratch with little or no resources. Is it possible? Can you start with ₦0? Can you start with zero capital? Let us explore. My first answer to this, my first reaction to this, yes, it is possible. It's possible to start with ₦0. Maybe you're just finished school, you have graduated from school. Happy graduation, congratulations. Maybe you didn't have the opportunity to go to school. Fantastic. You can begin with little or no capital. But firstly, it starts with an idea. I know it's very common. People say ideas are a dime a dozen. Yes, I agree. Ideas are a dime a dozen. But what's expensive is the execution. But the idea must come. Where does the idea come from? Sometimes it comes from your passion, something that you're very passionate about. Something that if I wake you up at 2 a.m. to talk to me about, you are going to talk to me about it without batting an eyelid. The idea can come from your passion. Secondly, the idea can come from your education. You've probably gone to school, you sat in the four walls of an educational system, or you've gone through self-education, either on YouTube or on a learning device, digitally, virtually. That's fantastic. Thirdly, the idea can come from an experience. You've probably been employed somewhere, you've probably been serving somewhere, and then this idea has come to you in the point of service. That's fantastic. The idea can come from service. The idea can also come accidentally through an experiment. You're experimenting with something, experimenting with starting a business, experimenting with resources, and an idea came to mind. That's fantastic. An idea can come through an experiment. An idea can also come through an environment where you find yourself. You've probably been living in a certain place for a while. You've probably been in an educational system for a while. You've been in an environment, either in a different institution, educational institution, religious institution, wherever it is that you've been in. So what's the next thing when the idea comes? It doesn't matter where the idea has come from. The next thing is your research, right? You have to research this idea. You have to find out an opportunity to turn this idea into a thriving and successful business. You have to gather a lot of information. You have to talk to potential customers. You have to talk to businesses. You have to talk to those who are operating in your area, who will live around you. Sometimes they can be family or friends. You have to do and turn this idea to value, right? And I give an instance. A friend of mine one time wanted to start a business of buying and selling cars. And the idea came as a result of him just living in an area in Ikeja local government in Lagos State where there are lots of car sellers. And so he wanted to buy and sell cars. So one of the things he did as the idea came, he spoke to a lot of people who are buying and selling cars. He spoke to people who sell cars. He spoke to people who buy cars. He spoke to them about why they will not buy a certain amount of cars, why they won't buy a certain brand. And this was as a result of him just living in an environment. So the next thing he needed to do was to test the idea. So he tested the idea with people who were already, experimenting or doing something around the idea. So that's how he carried out his research and was able to create a lot of value from that. After researching, the next thing you need to do is to look for an opportunity. And please listen clearly. You have to look for somebody who is willing to pay you, somebody who can afford the service, and somebody who's ready to pay for it right now. So the first thing, someone who's willing to pay. The person can be willing to pay for a service, but might not be able to afford it. For instance, I might be willing to pay for a private jet right now because of the confidence that it will bring to my work, where I can be able to hop on a plane and fly to all the 774 local governments in Nigeria, but I cannot afford it. So the first thing is the person willing to pay. The willingness is the first thing. Is the person willing to pay? If you tick that box, and I'm going to write right now, the first thing, we're starting, we're spoken about the idea, and we're spoken about researching the idea. The next thing is the opportunity. The first thing is willingness. Someone who is willing to pay. So we'll tick that, right? And let's take a perfect example. Let's say that I want to start a food delivery business. I need to be able to, after my research, come up with a couple of people who need it, who need the food delivery business. And these people can just be very busy individuals. probably people who are bankers, right? Who do not have time to leave their desk, who actually have the need, right? The willingness, they want to pay. They want to pay for food delivered to their doorstep while they eat at work, right? That's the first thing. The next thing is affordability. Can they afford it? So can they afford it? That's the next thing. Next thing is affordability. When the people can afford it, the next thing is, can they pay right now? Timeliness. Can they pay right now? I'll give you an instance. A couple of people during the COVID-19 pandemic, they were willing to travel. They could afford to travel, but they couldn't travel at the time because all travel were brought to a halt. No one could travel, right? So, three things. Can get someone who's willing to pay, can get someone who can afford it, and can get someone who's willing to pay right now. When you can get someone who's willing to pay, who can afford it, and who's ready to pay right now, ladies and gentlemen, you've gotten one customer. And so the next thing you can do, and I'll give you an instance with how I started my own fashion business as a teenager with no money. So I had gone to a university that was compulsory for everyone to wear a necktie. I've gone to a university that was compulsory for us to wear button-up shirts. You could actually get suspended or expelled from school if you were not tucking your shirt. If you wore jeans, right? It was a private university in Nigeria. And so a lot of my mates have come from secondary school where they were not used to these things. So it was a new environment for us. So what I did was, many people didn't know how to wear neckties. Many people didn't know about button-up shirts. So I started my first fashion brand by looking for my classmates who were willing to wear button-up shirts and a necktie. Of course, it was compulsory. Who could afford to pay for it and who were ready to pay for it right now. So what I did almost immediately with no money was I learned a skill, right? I learned how to take measurements. I didn't even know how to sew clothes at the time. So I'll go to my classmate, take the measurements, and then I send it. When we went on holiday, I found a tailor. So I will send all the measurements to the tailor. And at that time, it was a taboo to leave the school without your parents' permission. So no one could leave the school. So I'd given the tailor some money, and the tailor would come to the gate of the school, and I would give the tailor all the measurements. So the tailor would go home and make the clothes and bring to me at the gate of the school. And so from there, I began distributing it to everyone who had taken their measurements from. And what had happened is, when I go to take your measurements, I take an advance fee from you, right? I'd ask you, at the time I was selling a shirt for 5,000 Naira. So I'd ask you, listen, I'm going to give you this exact shirt, very good button-up shirt, and to be your exact size. You don't have to do any slim fitting. You don't have to do any modification. All you have to give me right now is just 2,000 Naira. So I collected 2,000 Naira as against a 5,000 Naira shirt. So upon delivery, I get 5,000 Naira. So I take 2,000 Naira, I call the tailor comes. From the 2,000 Naira, I give him an advance fee to go and make the shirt, and I give him money for transport. So he will go make the shirt, bring the shirt back to school, I get the shirt, and I deliver the shirt, and I make an additional 3,000 Naira, right? From that 3,000 Naira, my profit was included, and the balance for the tailor for making the clothes was also included. So I gave the tailor the balance for the clothes. And so that's how I started my first business as a teenager, right? What did I do? I looked within my environment. I found out what a need was, and I started to do a research on that need. So that's how you can start. You also can look within your environment. It could be your church. It could be your estate. It could be your society. It could be a group of friends. Look within your environment, find out what a need is, to carry out a research on that need, and then also capitalize on this advanced way of starting. So it's called an advance fee. So I give you another instance. If you're a chorister in your church, for instance, and then you have a lot of women who are in the church, right? One of the things that you can do if you want to start a food business is you can reach out to them and let them know that you're beginning this business. And then every Saturday before choir practice, you can bring to them all the tubers of yam or the basket of tomatoes. All they need to do is to give you an advance fee to start. So they give you a token, you go there, and then you buy the product, bring the products to them, and then you can get the balance. In some cases, The person who you are going to get the product from might be giving you the product on a discount. It might be giving the product on a currency, and that currency is not money. That currency is trust. He's trusting that he's giving you that product or offering you that service on the trust that when you deliver and you are paid, you will come and pay him. So in many cases, you just need to understand who is the supplier and who is the customer. You go to the supplier, you get the product for them or get the fee for them and deliver it to the customer, right? And then when the product and the service is completed, only then would you get the balance. So that is the way I started, and that's how you can start. Firstly, you have to get an idea. Secondly, you research on this idea. Thirdly, you find a customer. And when you find a customer, you can begin your first business. I'd like to hear from you how you plan to start. You can send me an email or send me a message on the message sharing on the screen. Let me know how you want to start. And if you need us to communicate with you, to guide you, we are very much happy to help you. Thank you so much. Go out there, think big, start small, and grow quickly.